Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to another video. It's your boy AC here, and this time I'm doing the impossible task of ranking the King Crimson discography, and saying that, I gotta say that I'm not doing any of the EPs like I usually do for all these groups, because the EPs are a little redundant. They use a lot of album material, and I'm not, for once, ranking in live albums, because we would be here for 3 days, and that would be fun until it isn't. And I haven't heard most of those live albums. They have so many live albums, and so many, like for a while this was the only one, and now there's like 120, 130. There's stuff like this. There's a bunch of stuff I won't show. There's these, and this, and oh, there's all sorts of things. There's EPs. There's stuff like this. There's that from the reunion, and that from the reunion, and that from the reunion. And for years I was trying to keep up, and I just said, screw it, I can't keep up. And I haven't bought any of their new products, but most of it's really good. You want to have it all, but you don't have room. I don't see how those DGM collectors collect all this stuff, and there's the collectors club stuff. So we're just gonna pare it all back. We're gonna do a top 13, just keep it studio albums, nice and simple. And but still, it's an impossible task. Like, I think not every true fan has to say this, but I think a lot of us can agree King Crimson did not make a bad record, and I don't know how, because the lineup changes were more frequent than almost any band I can think of. The only super consistent lineup they had was in the early 80s, when they put out 3 records with Adrian Belew, Tony Levin, Bill Bruford, and Robert Fripp, the one steady member of the group who has steered the ship in all sorts of different creative directions. Apparently, in the early years he could be a difficult man, but he was a genius, and some geniuses just are difficult people. And I think it's more that he was just a perfectionist, and he has a really odd sense of humor. So, but brilliant guy nonetheless. So we're gonna kick this all off with number 13, and that's Beat. No disrespect to Beat, like I said, I don't think King Crimson have made a bad record. This one only suffers because it suffers being sandwiched in between Discipline and Three of a Perfect Pair. It does kind of what Discipline did, except it's kind of more refined, a little more poppier, a little more 80s. I think Discipline just did it in a more daring way, and yeah. Neil, and I was listening to this the other day, and I forgot how good Neil, Jack, and Me is. The thing with this record is all these cuts, when they did them live, I liked it better. There's a whole bunch of bootlegs and official releases, and especially the Live in Japan DVD, or I guess it was a VHS back in the day. Yeah, especially songs like Waiting Man, where it really stretches out. I enjoy that better. And songs like Heartbeat's great, but I think it's kind of a lesser Mare Kudasai, and stuff like Neurotica is kind of a lesser Thela Hanginjit, maybe. But yeah, cool stuff. Adrian Belew's wife writes one of the songs. It's called Beat because it's got a more consistent beat than a lot of King Crimson records, but also because its concept loosely on half the tracks is it's about, the beat writers and beat poetry and all that kind of stuff. So that's another interesting fold in there. Putting together this, I realized that I didn't actually have a CD copy of this. For years I assumed I had a CD copy of all of them, but it's Three of a Perfect Pair. I only have the record, which is, obviously nice to have, and I have a whole bunch of KC records. This one just gets the edge over Beat by a hair, I would say. And this one's interesting because the first side is more of the poppy, kind of Adrian Belew side. It's got the big single on it, Sleepless. Man with an Open Heart is really catchy and fun and Beatles-esque, as is Three of a Perfect Pair, Model Man, and then the right side is more industrial, instrumental for the most part. There's some vocals, but not much. Dig Me's a quick little vocal workout. The B-side is more abrasive and experimental. It's really cool. Industry is a great song right there. And then it's got Larks Tongues in Aspect Part 3, which is good, but I don't think it lives up to the name of the track. I think Part 1 and 2 from, a decade prior were better, or more than a decade prior, I think. Looking at my list over there. So number 11 is The Construction of Light. This one right here. Arguably, well, even people that would rank it number 1, I don't know if this is anyone's favorite King Crimson record. It's definitely the most abrasive. It's definitely the hardest to get into. There's definitely no single there. It's far more industrial and kind of metal. And it starts with Prozac Blues, which has that crazy deep Adrian Belew on it, which you don't expect. You usually expect his very pop radio ready, Beatles influenced fun voice to come onto the track, and it's all slowed down and evil sounding. Construction of Light is definitely a highlight, which is track 2 and 3. Almost 9 minutes of music there. Larks Tongue 4, that's cool. Another Larks Tongues. Right into Coda, I Had a Dream, that's awesome. And then Heaven and Earth, which is a Project X one. It's not even King Crimson, really, but it goes in really well with this. And, this, Bill Bruford was long gone. It was Masalato, Pat, Trey Gunn. He was basically the Tony Levin at the time. Alright, so next up is going to be, this may seem a little low for some people, but In the Wake of Poseidon. And it's a great album, really. When I saw the band in 2014, they opened with Larks Tongues 1 and went right into Pictures of a City without a gap. And both times I was tearing up. I was so happy to hear these songs, and they did such a good job with, the 3 drummers and Jacko Jack Syke, and it was really cool. So I've always loved Pictures of a City. Cadence and Cascade is beautiful. In the Wake of Poseidon, including Libra's theme, that's cool. Cat Food is so fun. Maybe the band's most fun song, actually. Love that Greg Lake stuff. The Devil's Triangle. The only problem with this record is, unlike any other, well, I kind of said this for Beat, but more so than any other King Crimson record, it kind of repeats the blueprint of its predecessor. It kind of feels like the first album kind of done over. There's a lot of, it hits a lot of the same beats, and, but hey, I mean, what an album. Either way, what an album to follow that iconic debut. And if that's really the only fault of In the Wake of Poseidon, then it's still a great record. I still think it's a classic. It's they didn't have any missteps. Next up is Tharak. I find Tharak extremely interesting. The whole double trio stuff, the live performances they were doing at the time, those were all great. I've also got a DVD of them doing that, and it's just incredible. I think that the best part about this era of the project, after, coming back out of the 80s, a lot of people don't think King Crimson would return. The best part of the project is the instrumentals, in my opinion. The pop songs are cool. Dinosaur's a definite highlight. That's a lot of fun. That's a crazy song, maybe one of the band's best. But songs like People and Sex, Sleep, Eat, Drink, Dream, while good, are less interesting than the instrumentals. You know, Tharak is amazing. Vroom, Vroom, Vroom as well. I'm not stammering. It's actually one song called Vroom and one Vroom, Vroom. And then there's the Vroom, Vroom Coda. And Coda Marine 475. I know that's kind of like a in-between track or whatever. That's a great song. I love that one. Yeah, I think the only reason why it ranks a little lower is songs like One Time and People, because they are good, but they just don't measure up to the rest. And also when you have this, you know, this one's hard to top, The Power to Believe, which, unfortunately, as of this video, is the last true King Crimson album. You know, there's been 55 live albums since then, and there was also, I have it over there, it's A Scarcity of Miracles. It's a King Crimson project that I think they could have put out as King Crimson, but that's again with Jacko Jaksic being the front man. And I think well, they don't owe it to him, but I would love if they put out an album where he's fronting the group. Because, you know, they've played some new songs on the newer tours, and, you know, it would be really cool to just add one more to the legacy. This, though, this is like, you know, Construction to Believe was heavy, but kind of a hard one to enter for, like, a non-follower. Like, not very song-oriented. Whereas this one is very, it's a lot more, I think a lot of the songs kind of fall under more of a pop structure. There's still the crazy good instrumentals like Level 5, Dangerous Curves, Electric, but you still have some more kind of poppy fare, even though it's heavier instrumentally than what people were used to with King Crimson. But Happy With What You Have to Be Happy With is, oh, that's such a fun song. It's amazing, and it kind of makes fun of pop songs and pop song structure and expectations, and I like that. And Facts of Life is great, and The Eyes Wide Open, that one's great. That one's a definite highlight. And then the 4 Power to Believes, 1 which opens the record, 2 which falls in the middle, and 3 and 4 close the record. If you put all those songs together, you have an incredible, you know, 12, 13 minutes of music. I actually wish I know they kind of wanted it as a reprise, but I wish they kind of bunched those all together, because people have done that, and you can sometimes find it on YouTube, all the Power to Believes together, and I think it works the best like that, as a big Power to Believe suite. And I would love to get the LP of this, because it was really hard to get on LP till they did a reissue campaign a couple of years ago. It really bugged me to put this one above Power to Believe, but I think maybe it fits above. The only thing that was stopping me was every song on here is incredible except Ladies of the Road. I get where they were going with it. I get that subject matter is you know, it worked a little better in the 70s. Now it's kind of like in bad taste a little bit. But you know, all the groupies that they found along the road. It doesn't seem like something King Crimson would or should be writing about anyway. Like, they're not really that type of band. You know, it seems like more something that, you know, Van Halen or something would write about. No disrespect to them, but kind of more of a fun song about groupies and stuff like that. And you know, as songs about that subject matter go, this one's not really that fun anyway. It's not horrible, it's just kind of cringeworthy. And the rest is so good and so majestic, especially for Montera Lady and Islands, which ends the record in classic King Crimson way of having this long, sweeping epic to close your record. And then Sailor's Tale and The Letters, those ones are incredible too, and have those ones have been performed on newer tours. So I think this is 6, Lizard, which is one that a lot of fans did like. Fripp hated and disowned this record for years, and finally admitted, now that he's kind of mellowed out in the last 15 years or so, admitted that, yeah, this one has its fans, and he still doesn't like it, but he can respect that people are out there and they do like it. And he said that, and they reissued it, and it has a Steven Wilson mix and everything. Yeah, this one's just crazy. It's batshit insane, but it's also a lot of fun. It's also complex. It lends itself to further listening, definitely. It comes in strong with Circus. Indoor Games is a fun song about, I think it's just about infidelity or something. Well, it's just about indoor games. I think it's just a song about sex, really, but Happy Family is a lot of fun, and apparently about the Beatles. And one of my most quoted songs ever, I always say stuff like Happy Family, one hand clap. Yeah, and Lady of the Dancing Water, that's the only one that I don't think is quite as good, but I think it's because the volume is turned way down, and you have to be paying attention and run to your record player or CD player and turn it up, because Happy Family is so loud, and then Lady of the Dancing Water seems like a non-event. It's very pretty, but just sandwiched between all these other ones, it doesn't make as much of a impression. And then you have the whole Lizard Suite, which is absolutely amazing. Just like Islands and, all those other big epics that they did. So number 5 is the almost studio album. Well, it was released as such, but, these were taken live off the floor, and you would barely know that until you read about the making of this album and that. And for me, this one ranks so high just because of The Great Deceiver. I think that is an absolutely insane song. Just how fast they go on it and everything. But, not to take away from the rest. I mean, Lament, The Night Watch, those are great. The last 2 songs are probably the other highlights other than The Great Deceiver. There's a lot more kind of jazzy stuff, and, not as pop song structures on this one. So I think that might be the only thing kind of holding it back, but I don't know. It's almost a perfect record, really. And yeah, actually 10, 12 years ago, whenever I was getting into King Crimson, this was my favorite for a little while. I think everything in the top 5 has been my favorite at one point or another. I know this one hasn't. As I was saying, Larks Tongue's an aspic. There you go, let's get it the right way up. So that one's got, obviously, the title track, part 1 and 2. Part 2 is one of the best things they ever cut, and whenever you see them live, that is the song right there. That and, Starless are this goosebumps, amazing songs. Yeah, Book of Saturday, Exiles, Easy Money, I always compare Easy Money to The Big Money by Rush, or Money by Pink Floyd, or Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. All these big rock bands write songs making fun of money and the industry and the greed and everything, and they all have their own takes on it, but they all kind of are coming from the same train of thought. And then they all get rich anyway. So, yeah, Larks Tongues is great. I think that really the majesty of the record is established with Larks Tongues Part 1 and 2, which bookend the LP. And yeah, of course, you had John Wetton doing the vocals on this one, as well as this one, Red, which, like I said, every King Crimson album in the top 5 has been my favorite at one point or another. This one has been quoted as being one of Kurt Cobain's favorite records, and I can see why. I mean, Red, great instrumental, always so much fun live. Fallen Angel always hits hard, the way John Wetton holds that note. One More Red Nightmare is just insane, and doesn't seem like it's 7 minutes. It just goes by so fast because you're having such a good time listening to it. Providence is fun, but it's kind of more jazzy, milling about jam session. It's not as strong as the other 4, in my opinion. I would still say this is like a 5-star album, or maybe 4.5, depending what day you listen to it on. And then Starless is incredible closing song, and like I said, um, seeing them live, that's one of the highlights right there, and you can find incredible performance of it on YouTube and all that good stuff. And then number 2, again, a lot of people's favorites. That's one of the most iconic album covers of all time, whether you find it, crazy or distasteful, or a lot of different opinions, but it's iconic, that's for sure. And I always love it. It kind of shows the insanity of a lot of the lyrics that Sinfield wrote for Greg Lake to sing on these cuts. And 21st Century Schizoid Man, especially with the Kanye West sample, it just seems like it was never a popular song or anything, or a pop hit, but it's just ingrained now in rock culture, and for good reason. It's one of the best opening songs of all time, but one of the best career openers of all time. Like that's the first thing that a lot of people heard from King Crimson. That's amazing. And I Talk to the Wind is nice and tender. Epitaph is one of the most stunning songs ever. Like, wow, imagine writing that song as Pete, and then singing it as Greg, or performing it as King Crimson. What a legacy. What a great song. Moonchild, a lot of people don't like that one as much because there's a lot of jamming and kind of just milling about. There's a lot of silent sections, and sections where things aren't going on that much. And if you really edit everything out, there's only about 2.5 minutes of song. But what a song. And I don't know, it never really bothered me that much. I mean, I know that King Crimson don't like to be called prog, but in prog records I kind of expect some of that. I don't know, I love the band the Mars Volta, and I kind of I get why people are bugged about those long sections where nothing happens, because they might have something better to do or whatever, or they just want to get back to the songs or the riffs or the singing. And I've made fun of that, oh, their debut is just dripping noises, but really it doesn't bug me, and really I don't find there's that much of it. I think people just amplify the truth a little bit. And then it closes with the big sweeping The Court of the Crimson King, which its full name is In the Court of the Crimson King, including The Return of the Fire Witch and The Dance of the Puppets. So don't make sure to actually include that last bit when you're talking about it. It's very important. Yeah, it's just stunning. I think it's a flawless debut album, one of the few. And then this might surprise some people, but everyone's allowed their favorite, but especially because I put Beat in Three of the Perfect Pair, 12th and 11th respectively. This is my number one, Discipline. I love Discipline so much. I think Elephant Talk was probably one of the first King Crimson songs I ever heard, and it just kind of blew my mind. I just love the wordplay and the crazy elephant sounds that Adrian's making with the guitar, and the otherworldly drumming and kind of third worldy sounding bass, and everything about that tune is great. Frame by Frame, I mean, that sounds like an early math rock song to me, and I love it. Adrian's vocals are amazing on that one. Mate Kudasai is one of the most beautiful things the band's ever done, I think. In Discipline, wow, what a song. And when they do that live, holy man, that hits hard. And they can go really heavy on that one, too. Thalahunginjit, I think, is probably the weakest, but it's great, and it's scary, and it's... yeah, they really captured a moment quite well that was kind of a scary moment, I believe, in New York City. And it's new wave, but it's kind of got this metal energy to it. The Sheltering Sky. Like a lot of King Crimson stuff, I think that The Sheltering Sky is even better live, because they add even more to it. They flesh it out even more. And I think it's on the Live in Japan one, but the solo on it is almost sinister, and it's amazing what Fripp does on that one. But it's a great studio cut too. It's one of my favorite King Crimson songs actually. And then Discipline is the closer. So I mean, like I said, if you get upset that that's my number one, really you could pick Larks Tongues or Red or In the Court of the Crimson King. Like those ones are all good. But yeah, I definitely, I really gravitate towards this. I really love Adrian Belew a lot. I loved having those four as the lineup. You know, it was such a lightning in a bottle moment because it was like 3 studio LPs in 3 years and a great couple of tours and a lot of just great creative energy, and it was the one consistent lineup, because even lineups that seem like they were consistent, like they lost Jamie between, was it Larks Tongues and Starless or Red? Uh, yeah, they lost Jamie between those two, and then between Starless and Red, they lost David Cross, and yeah, they never had a consistent, even between like the first two records or record 2 and 3. Then there was another lineup change. 3 and 4, there was a lead singer change again. You know, you had Boz in there, you had Greg, you had John, you had, yeah. So I don't know. Discipline, maybe a controversial choice. I'm not sure, but I definitely know people that like the Adrian Belew stuff the most, and I wouldn't go that far, even though I put an Adrian record as my number one. But you know, because I love John Wetton's work, and especially with King Crimson. I have a couple Asia albums, but I only like a couple of their songs really, and Greg Lake, I'm a huge Greg Lake fan. I was really sad when he passed away. I was sad when John Wetton passed away, obviously. So yeah, I wouldn't say that I have like a big favorite or least favorite lead singer of King Crimson. I think everyone brought what they did to the table and did it well, and you know, I'm not one of the people that says, oh, boo, Adrian Belew, I like Greg Lake stuff, or boo, Greg Lake, I like Adrian. But I know people like that, so there are probably other people that would pick Discipline. But yeah, let me know your favorite King Crimson albums, and yeah, I've rambled on too long about the number one there. So yeah, catch you all in the next one, and thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. Okay, talk to you later.